Hello whiskey lovers and welcome to another one of Mark's Whiskey Ramblings. Now with these pandemic times, I am doing a little bit more ramblings than I'm used to, don't I? That's also one of the reasons why you often will find me doing a rambling about a bottle that is almost empty. Because, well, I sometimes come across a bottle and think this is not going to be rambling stuff, and then I'm like, well, we're home, why not make another video? It's fun pastime for me, and I hope it is also a fun pastime for you. Now, be advised, the fact that these bottles are almost empty is for two reasons. One, I have quite a few open bottles. I host tastings and then sometimes I have a little bit left and then I'm like, well, might as well talk about it, do a rambling about it. Sometimes I think a bottle is not ramble worthy and then I just write tasting notes. I'll have you know that I have a blog, a Wivy blog. On Wivy. Wivy is whiskey voor iedereen, meaning whiskey is for everyone. It's a Flemish blog, obviously, because I am Flemish, but Google Translate is your best friend there if you want to check it out. But you can also find my tasting notes, about 4,500 now, on connoisseur.com, and also in English on the world-famous Whiskey Base. But anyway, not every bottle goes into a rambling, obviously. I've done about 300 of them. But that is one of the reasons why I often do ramblings about bottles that are almost empty. The second largest reason is I often get offered the bottles by whiskey friends at a tasting, or they come over to my place, whatever, and then we finish off a bottle and they're like, hey, that's all that's left, here, keep it. And maybe you could even do a rambling. And here we are. So that's a Springbank bottle, and as you can see, it's an older one. This is the entry-level malt of Springbank, the 10 years old, but this is an older one. The new one has an orange label, looks a lot more modern. I'm not sure if it's prettier, but it looks more modern. This is an older one. This one was bottled in 2005, meaning that it was distilled in 1995 or earlier, which also means that it's been sitting in the bottle longer than it's spent on the cask, because this was bottled 15 years ago and it's a 10 years old. But back to Springbank. Springbank is one of the last surviving distilleries in Campbeltown, together with Glengyle, that produces the Kilkerran single malt, and of course Glen Scotia. But Springbank, it's the 3-for-1 distillery basically, because they produce three single malts. They have this one, the Springbank, which is a peaty single malt, but on the other hand they also have the heavily peated Longrow, and then finally they've got the newish Hazelburn, which is unpeated and triple distilled. Now the unpeated version Hazelburn appeared for the very first time, if I'm not mistaken, that was 1997, so long time ago, yeah, but in whiskey terms very new. 1997 is like yesterday for me anyway. Well, let's not go there. Anyway, the Springbank, 10 years old. Springbank is 2.5 times distilled. How does that work exactly? 2.5 times. Well, part of the new make part of the low wines go back into the wash. So some of this is double distilled and some of this is triple distilled. When they get together, 2.5 times distilled. Does that make any sense? No? No worries. It's not really important. What is important is the liquid that's inside. And this entry-level malt by Springbank, this 10 years old, is bottled at 46% ABV. We're going to finish it off. Yes, we're going to finish it off. All right. That's a good thing. I'm told that once you finish a bottle, it always leaves 7 drops inside. You lose 7 drops every time. So that's why I'm a bit patient and counting the drops. And I think I've got like 4 or 5 of them. That's because of the osmosis, the stickiness of the malt. It sticks to the glass. If you leave it for half an hour, you will suddenly find a little bit of liquid left. 7 drops, the final 7 drops that you always lose. Anyway, it's a light golden color. The Springbank, 10 years old at 46% ABV, a Campbelltowner on the nose. This is a beautiful, beautiful mix. Tropical fruit and vanilla on the one hand, but Hessian sack jute and peat and sea salt on the other. This is quintessential Campbeltown. Beautiful, beautiful on the palate. It's immediately waxy and sweet on the palate. There's an intense smoke development here. And it's a bit spicy on nutmeg and ginger, and just a pinch of chili peppers. And then I get some soft tannins as well, and even a salty edge. It's a bit, I'm not sure if I can say that, but this is a bit old school in my opinion, and simply delicious on the finish. Finish is medium long, but it's quite feisty actually. It's sweet at first, and then it turns somewhat salty, but it dies a sweet death nonetheless. Like I said, Springbank is a quintessential Campbeltown whiskey and one of the best entry-level malts on the market. The other ones are the Glengyle 12 years old, the Benromach 10 years old, for example, and this Springbank 10 years old. Those are truly very affordable entry-level malts, but top-notch in their category, in my opinion. Beautiful whiskey. Oh, mustn't forget the Auchentoshan 12 years old. There, I've done it again. No matter how or what I talk about, I always try to squeeze in my favorite lowlander. But it's true, the Auchentoshan 12 years old is also a quintessential lowland whiskey and bang for your buck. Just like this Springbank 10 years old. And did you know that to be able to have a whiskey region, it needs to have at least 3 distilleries? And that is actually why the Mitchell family, who owns the Springbank distillery, also bought the adjacent distillery buildings, Glengyle distillery. So they now have Springbank, Glengyle, and then there's also Glen Scotia. So 3 distilleries, Campbeltown can remain a whiskey region. Scots Whisky Association for you. The reason why Glengyle brings out whiskey under the name Kilkerran has to do with the fact that there was already a Highland single malt, a Highland whiskey out there with the name Glengyle. And so to make sure there was no confusion or to avoid a lawsuit, they renamed their single malt, not Glengyle, but they named it Kilkerran, which is the name of the region. There you have it. This is a side note, something for your next whiskey quiz, whatever. But do not forget, the Springbank 10 years old at 4 to 6% entry-level malt, quite affordable, but an absolutely quintessential Campbeltown malt. And that's all for this Whiskey Rambling, and I hope to see you at one of Mark's Whiskey Ramblings real soon. And until then, may the malt be with you.